Destroy all negative thoughts and think positive with the Arcturians' positive alien race, raising consciousness.
Time. The Arcturians are an advanced positive alien race that are assisting humanity with global ascension. Hello, dear one. I am Cybele, the great mother of all gods. Greetings to all light beings on Earth, especially those who have reincarnated from Atlantis. We will share the secrets of ascension from Atlantis. It's okay to cry. You might remember back when you were a kid how your mom always told you to stop crying. You've probably heard a parent at some time in your life tell his kids, stop that crying. It doesn't do any good. Or stop crying or else I'll give you something to cry about. Seriously. If a child is crying, it's a clue he's already got something to cry about. Depending on the era you grew up, your parents might have handled kids crying in some pretty creative ways. Frankly, crying is really no big deal. In fact, many experts believe crying has some usefulness to our lives. Did you know that crying has a scientific name? It's called lacrimation. Most people haven't heard it. Even so, every person on Earth has shed tears at some time in his or her life. Crying is one experience that every human being has shared. Why people cry? Let me tell you why people cry. Crying really doesn't hurt or damage a situation or people. In fact, crying is a healthy expression of emotions. The reason you don't like people crying is because it makes you uncomfortable. In fact, if you got more comfortable with yourself and your self-identity, you will allow others to cry and express themselves. Particularly for children, experiencing feelings that you don't understand can be pretty confusing. And those feelings of confusion and frustration can be quite easily expressed through crying. Some people cry when they're sad or melancholy. Others cry when they're frustrated or angry. Still, there are those who cry when they're afraid. Whatever the reason, especially emotionally, it's healthy for people to feel what they're feeling and the need and the necessity to cry occasionally and release those feelings. Ask yourself, do you allow yourself to cry? If You ever experience feeling like you want to cry, yet holding in your tears? You know how uncomfortable it can be. What were you experiencing at those times? It practically makes a person feel physically ill to withhold crying, even though the emotions and the body are sending signals that it's time to cry. Interestingly, on the contrary to what people may think, when a person cries, it tends to last for just a few short minutes. Once the initial troubling feelings are expressed, they're released. The act of crying has a calming effect on the body, believe it or not. As one breathing often slows down, after shedding the tears, you're then free to go on with your day because you've released. Let's look at crying and the grief process. It's natural to experience sad and lonely feelings related to a loss of someone or something important. During grieving, you might cry periodically over a few days, weeks, months. Between crying episodes, you might feel fine. However, the grief eventually returns. Grief has a way of washing over you in waves, but then minutes later, you're feeling better. When grieving, sometimes a good cry is all you need to release troubling emotions for that moment. Over time, you'll feel less and less like crying. It's important for you to know that it's okay to cry and grieve over loss. And loss can come in so many forms. It can be a breakup, a death of a loved one, health situations, moving, just sudden things that disrupt your life. Now, let's look at research on crying. Recently, research reported on the Science Daily website indicating that 2/3 of people studied reported feeling a boost in their moods after crying. The study also showed that people who have been diagnosed with mental health conditions or anxiety or other mood disorders might not feel better after crying. In summary, healthy people who cry feel better when they're finished crying. If you are struggling with a mental health condition, a good way to look at crying to be able to heal the process of this condition that you're going through is actually embrace crying. And once you do this, you will feel better when you cry, even if you have a mental health condition. Consider crying a normal part of life that will occasionally happen. Let go of your fears regarding crying. However, in the event you or a person you know is crying practically daily for several hours each day, or not feeling any better after a good cry, it's probably a good time to check with your doctor to ensure you nip it in the bud any conditions requiring attention. So go ahead and let yourself cry if you feel like it. You'll feel calmer afterward and be ready to confront your day with a renewed passion and motivation. Sometimes it's as simple as knowing that crying is okay and that things are going to be okay.
Destroy all negative thoughts and think positive with the Arcturians' positive alien race, raising consciousness.